I got a new podcast alert, but most importantly, I want to share with you why it's so important for you to optimize your content, right? So let's take the podcast that I just released today. And if you haven't seen this podcast, definitely check it out. It is with Kelsey Brewer. She is the she is so good at explaining to everyone about why it's so difficult to build affordable housing, all the different challenges, and most importantly, what are the questions that cities should ask, right? So I optimize the content literally just now. And what's most important, right, is two parts. One is you got to identify what you're known for. So you will see this introductory statement that, hey, this is the podcast. We're the best podcast for affordable housing investments, right? You have to tell large language models what you specialize in. And then you have to figure out, okay, how do I tell these large language models are so data hungry what my episodes are about, right? And when I optimize this content in here, it's very important for you to have a section that says common questions this episode answers. Because now when I say, hey, what are the most common questions that cities or counties ask affordable housing developers, which is one of the topics I covered with Kelsey. And is there the podcast that discusses this? Right. So tell me some of the most common questions. And then when it says, hey, podcast that discusses this, you will get our podcast that shows up. So why is that important? If you believe people used to do research, as an example, by going to the library and going to encyclopedias, trying to find a book or trying an encyclopedia about a specific topic so they can learn about it. Then we made a big shift into Google, right? Where people was like, oh, why don't you go Google it? Why don't you go Google it? And that's how people learn, or that's how they got an answer to a question. And if you truly believe, I am definitely on this boat, people will get their answers from ChatGPT going forward. Well, you need to figure out how to you get your content to show up on ChatGPT, right? You got to start making that content now. And so you get our podcast that shows up like, hey, this is the podcast. I'll talk about how developers work with cities and public agencies. So if you're a developer and you want to work with cities and public agencies, you have to optimize your content to show up on something like this, right? For some of our content right now, like for the shorts, the little clips that I have scheduled to be coming out, like look right here. What are the most common questions that cities or counties ask affordable housing developers? I just released this now, right? And even then, I'm trying to optimize. Okay, let me look at the content really quick, right? Let me make sure that I'm even optimizing the written content for a small 1 minute clip because that's the level of detail I want to focus on. Because if you don't highlight your information and it cannot get discovered, then in my opinion, you are just simply invisible. And I don't think anyone wants to be invisible, right? I think we all here, we're trying to make an impact. Not trying, we're going to make an impact if you just take the advice that I'm sharing with you. I This is just through trial and error, and I've learned it. And I'm trying to help you skip all the shortcuts so that if you are trying to help a specific population in a specific way, I just chose to help the working class families via housing. That's my mantra. So how do you get the message out there? How do you get the information out there so other people can feel like they can do it? Relation there explains the most common shares, the most common shares, the most common questions citizens when evaluating for housing, from capital stack certainty to long-term operations community impact. Jurisdiction focus heavily on risk mitigation, compliance, and alignment with housing goals. Because it breaks down developing practical answers, consumers, speed approvals, and build credibility. And most importantly, build credibility through education. Okay, common questions this episode answers. What do cities look for before approving an affordable housing project? Right. So I have all my content optimized specifically for how do people typically ask a question, right? And this is a question that, or a structured format that I believe that someone would type into ChatGPT. How committed does your financing need to be before entitlement? What? Why is it so hard? I think I'll rephrase this one. Why is it so hard to get financing before entitlement? Let's see, what do cities look for before? And I like having a little different formatting issues because if you have perfect formatting, it looks like it's been written by ChatGPT. So that's my personal preference. What role do long-term operators in how do cities value risk in affordable developments? Why does it take so long to build affordable housing and get financing for construction? What, let's see, how can cities expedite the approval processes to build more housing? What can cities offer to stimulate housing production and attract private investments? We'll leave this there. Sure. On LinkedIn. I want to do LinkedIn this one because I want people to get her contact information. Communities. Partner list. I like this one. I want to do a different one. Yeah, I like that one better. Boom. So now I got this new format, right? So you can kind of see how I did it, right? I updated all my little clips to match a new format. And I want this podcast to get as much views as possible because I truly believe that there's a lot to learn with Kelsey. All right. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. What city ask when building? Cities ask when building more housing. Okay, let's see how this goes, right? So I have three thumbnails, like three different things to kind of go through all of it. So this is going to be fun. I love kind of just working through and understand, like, hey, how do you go through all of this? So I hope this is helpful for everybody. I hope you kind of get a little bit of view, a little bit of idea of how we go through and optimize our content so that other people can actually see it and find it, most importantly. All right. Have an amazing day, everybody. I'll see you all tomorrow for the 874 of Going Live. Definitely check out this podcast with Kelsey. It is such a gem. And when she got into how to actually engage with the communities, I thought that was so important for every developer to know, because you have to understand, how do you approach a topic? How do you bring the temperature down in the room and truly help other people have a conversation and see and listen to them about what they want to see in their communities, instead of you going in there and barging in and saying, hey, this is my project, it's going to be great, you're going to love it. And that's never the right way to approach a project. All right, hope everybody have an amazing Thursday. I hope you all spend some quiet time with your family and friends today, because that's what life is all about. I'll see you all tomorrow for the 874 of Going Live. Have a good one, everybody.